Film emulation is a really hot topic these days. A lot of people are confused on what film emulation is. Most people feel like it's just grain and halation, but that's not what film emulation is. It's actually a lot more than that, and that's what this video is about. So Dehancer reached out to me about like a month ago and asked if I could test out their product, Dehancer Pro, and I said fine, why not? So Dehancer Pro, if you don't know, is a film emulation software, and I've been using it for the past 1 month on a variety of different projects and shots, images that I've shot and everything. And it has made me understand that film emulation is much more than just grain and halation, film grain halation. That's all. Now it's a lot more than that. Dehancer doesn't get to say anything on this video. They don't get to impute or control what I say in this video. It's just my honest review. I don't think I ever get to say that. You know, when you watch YouTubers, they always say this thing, and now I'm the one saying it. What a time to be alive. Okay, so as you can see, we have an image here, and I wanted to guys to just really not focus on this structure of this note tree. Everything is done in a single note tree page, if you say so. This is actually not how I prefer to work, but for the sake of this video and tutorial and testing out the Dehancer, I'm working like this. So to run you down what this image is actually doing and what I'm actually doing here, this is for a shot from music video visualizer that we shot back in January. So this is shot on the Canon camera in Canon Log 3, and we are converting Canon Log 3 into DaVinci camera, which is my most used profile that I shoot, that I grade in rather, and we're imputing it here using a DRT. I'll explain what DRT is further down in the video, from DaVinci Gamut into Rec 709. So I've created 3 versions of this, and let me walk you through what Dehancer is doing. Alright, so let's go to our different version. Alright, so I'm gonna put this off for now. This is where Dehancer lives. I created a new instance of Dehancer. This is the original one I used, as you can see, but it's off for now. So for the sake of this tutorial, I don't mess up my own grade. And this is just the second instance of Dehancer. Is the same thing. It's the same thing, just different inputs. But let's get to that. So this is the base look of the image. This is my Rec 709 image, right? And like I said before, the job of a colorist is simply somebody who translates from a working color space in digital working color space to a display color space with a little bit of style, finesse, and technique. That is basically the definition of what a colorist is, right? So like I said, this is shot on a Canon camera. This is taking is a regular resolve CST, taking Canon C-Log into DaVinci Gamut, and this is basically outputting DaVinci Gamut into Rec 709. Nothing out of the ordinary here, right? Basic stuff. Like I said, this is a DRT, which I'll get to later. And what's happening in this node is exposure. So as you can see in camera, this is actually how it was shot in camera. It's a little bit overexposed. If you look at our scopes here, we're a bit overexposed, we're a bit leaving on the top end of the image. But luckily enough, the image is not clipped, so we can recover this information back. And that's what we did here on this node. This is basically just exposure. So what's happening here is also, if I close this back, it's my balancing. So you can see that the image is skewed warm, a little bit warm. So this is just essentially bringing it back to this point here. And going back to what Valpato said, there's no such thing as a bad grade, but it's bad balancing, right? And when you balance your image, the goal is essentially to get the best possible starting point so that you can build your look on top of that. These are like the 3 main nodes, the 4 other 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes that are doing this job. So let's go into what the Dehancer is doing. So this is the Dehancer here. If I turn on the Dehancer, yeah, breaks my image completely. It's looking all jumbled, it's looking all blur. What's happening? Just follow me. Just to discuss what Dehancer actually is. Dehancer is a film emulation plugin, software, whatever you want to use. It essentially simulates what actual film prints and film profiles do, and trying to translate your digital image, which is usually clean and clear, and trying to make that simulate what film prints and film profiles will actually do to make your image have that filmic tone, texture, and look, essence, right? But Dehancer can also function as a DRT. Now, bro, what's a DRT? If you don't know, a DRT is basically display rendering transform. What does that mean? If you've ever corrected before in DaVinci, you will know that's your Rec 709. Or if you work in Premiere, you say, oh, the lot, your S-Log 3 to Rec 709 lot. That's what that's what a DRT is. And just to make you understand better, it is essentially translating your working color space, S-Log 3, red log, gamma 3, G10, array log C4, Canon log 3, whatever log profile you're shooting in. It's help you translate that log profile into a display color profile that you can now conceive as an image. Whether it could be a lot, it could be a CST in DaVinci, it could be a different plugin like I'm using here. That's what the DRT does. It is not doing contrast curve on your curve and making the image have contrast. That's not what the DRT is doing. That's not DRT. Whatever you're doing there, don't do that. Stop that. So why does this look so weird? Why does it look so jarring? It's because it is imputing Canon log C3, Canon C log 3 into DaVinci gamut, and that's what is being passed through this entire notary structure to this output here, where it's converted back to Rec 709. Ignore this. Just picture that this is 3 different nodes here. I'm going to tell you why I'm doing like this later. So here, the Dehancer Pro, we have an input section here, right? And it's saying source as per what's coming into the answer is Rec 709, and that's of course wrong. So what's coming in here is actually DaVinci gamut intermediate. So you can see we already have a better version of what we have here. So that's exactly what this is doing to the image. We are correctly imputing what is being sent into Dehancer, right? And of course, I won't touch on every single thing in this Dehancer Pro because this is not exactly a tutorial. I'm just trying to get you to understand what film emulation actually is and why you should use this something like Dehancer, to get the film look rather than just doing a different film grain halation to make your image look filmic, right? So yeah, let's go through these few controls here. We have exposure, temperature, tint, differentiators. I won't talk about the fringe, but I'll talk about exposure, temperature and tint. Exposure, right? What is this doing? I mean, it's clear. It's controlling how bright or dark your image is, right? However, what this does, because you will see that in later on, you will see that there are different ways you could actually you can actually change your exposure in Dehancer, but I'll tell you why this one is kind of important. So this essentially is changing your exposure within the source input color space you are using. I might be wrong, but that's how I understand. That's how I see it works. So you're changing the exposure of the image based off of the color space and gamma you've imputed. It's controlling the overall exposure of the image, and it's not breaking because of the input color space you have attached into Dehancer. So that's why this works. Of course, temperature is temperature. It's clear. It's white balance. It's tint is how green or how magenta do you want the image to look, right? So then let's go to the next stage, profile. So I might not be technically correct, or I may be wrong. If you do know, put it in the comment section or tell me. I don't know, but the way I understand what a profile is, a film profile is, it's like your color space you're shooting in. It's like your log profile that you use to shoot your film in. In digital era we have Canon log 3, red log. We have log profiles, right? And this is exactly what profile is in my understanding. It's like that profile when you want to shoot film cameras. It's that profile that you use to say, okay, I want this thing to look with Kodak Vision 250D, 500T, Konica Moni, all those film profiles, right? That's what you're choosing to shoot your image in. That's how I understand what film profiles are in the digital sense, right? And Dehancer has quite a lot. They have I think up to 60. So for this, I'm going to choose the Konica Impreza 50 2006 because I just like the way this looks for this particular image. There's no right or wrong one here. It depends on what you want, and I will say do more research on yourself, but by yourself, to find out what each profile is, their characteristics, and why you should choose one over the other depending on your project you want to create, right? Then I will skip on film developer and film corporation for now. I'll get back to them, and I'll go to expand. Expand is essentially like black point, white point. If you have not heard those terms before, your black point is essentially in a more advanced time. There is actually a chart that shows you what a white point image is, your clean white, your clean blacks, and this is just shifting that point either darker or white or brighter. So this is where you would live in most of your time, your film print. I see it as like your, in digital sense, it's like your Rec 709, right? When you're choosing the profile you want to shoot in, your film profile you want to shoot in, and you're not choosing the print. Okay, I want to print this image on a Kodak 23 print. I want to print it using a Fujifilm, you know, my point, so that it will give you your full image. So that's what this is. And Dehancer has, I think, 3. They have linear, Cineon 5 actually. Cineon Film Log, Fujifilm, Kodak, and Kodak. I've used all of them in different projects, but for this project I'm going to use Kodak 2383. And watch what happens to the image immediately I apply this. You see, we have a different look. Immediately a different look, right? And this is really what emulation is doing. It's not just grain, or even though you can see grain in the image. I'm sure, I don't know whether you use this person is true. I'll zoom in a bit later. But it is a profile. You're simulating what these actual things will do in the real world, and you're now using those things with mathematics and whatever you're doing and coding to simulate the digital image to look and behave like what that film print and profile will act like in the real world. When you actually go and take film, you go to a red room or a dark room and develop it. It's replicating what those things would actually look like, right? Okay, and then we have some controls here. Again, we have target white, we have exposure, we have tonal contrast and color density and saturation. Now, this is the second instance of exposure in Dehancer. What does this do? Now, unlike the first one that controls basically just the exposure in your given color space and gamma, this is controlling the exposure of the print film you're using. Kodak 2083 is controlling, okay, how dark or how bright did we want to expose this image? And you can see if I take it all the way down, it's quite dark. So this is a very dark exposed print, right? It's simulating that to the image. Versus when I go and do this here, this would not make the image look like that. As you can clearly see, it's still, you can still see her face, but when you do it with this particular print film that is chosen, it completely destroys the image. Not destroys, it's just simulated. This is what actual, if you did it in real life, this is what it's going to actually do, right? And I'll come back to this. I'll go to film grain. Like this is, you can see, I can actually put it off. This is where most people feel this is what makes film grain. And yes, film in a sense is grainy. It has that texture, but it is not what makes film. You can add grain to anything. That doesn't make it look filmic. There is a technology, there is a process of how film, the way film is developed, that will make it, that will give it that unique look. And like I said, if I just turn the Dehancer off here, as you can see, let's zoom out here a bit. If I turn out the Dehancer here, you can see that there's a look to it. It's giving me a look rather from my regular Rec 709 to this. It's changing a lot of things. This is actually what film emulation is actually doing, right? And yeah, and if you notice, if I take all this, the grain all the way down and I zoom in, even though it looks cleaner, there is still grain. I hope YouTube can pass this through this way, or however you can see it. But if I turn this off and on, you can see that there is still grain within this image, even though it's all the way down to 0. Why is that? Because, like I said, grain is a characteristic of film. And then we have halation. You know, if I zoom out a bit, halation, you see, it's adding a certain level of warmth. If you look at, you can even look at the vectorscope here. Let me close. When I turn it off and down, it's adding a certain warmth to the image, right? And that's what halation is doing. It is taking the brightest part of the image and transitioning it to make it softer into warm. That is what film, softer into a softer, warmer texture. That's what film does, right? And of course we have bloom. If you look at her hair right there, bloom, you know, I can increase, decrease it. This is, you know, you can see that halation too, but it's worked the same way. This is what most people do. They'll just drag halation and drag grain and say filmic look, but no, right? This is what it actually, this is how you properly do it. Of course, you can choose to do it or not. It depends on what you want to do for your image. But I'll just keep it at default, put it down just for the sake of this video. All right, so let's go back to, I won't touch on these ones here. These ones are other tools, but let's go back to the film print, right? So we have a tool here called color density, right? This is essentially what it means. It's increasing the density of the color. And when you understand how saturation works, the darker the color, the more dense, the denser the color, the more saturation comes out. You're taking down technically the exposure of that color, you're bringing it down, and it's going to appear darker, denser. That's why it's called, you're pressing it down, you're making it more dense. That's English. You know, that's what happens. So you can see when I take this back to default, I can decrease or increase the density. You see that when I increase it, it's getting darker, but I'm getting more color. When I take it, it's getting brighter, I'm getting less color. Let's take it all the way down. Let's take it all the way to 100 for the sake of this video, right? So you can see this image is really looking, there's a look to it. You can either like it or not. I don't really like this much amount of green. I take it down to the minimum for this particular project because it doesn't need to be there. And of course, target white. What is target white? Target white, when it comes to film profiles, there's a certain level. Film profiles, there wasn't anything really like white balance like that. It was most likely white point. There are different points of white. There's warm white and there's cool. There's warm white and there's cool white. Warm white being like D55 and D65 being like a cooler white. So this is exactly what it is. So it's not exactly changing your white balance. It's targeting a certain white points like D55, D60. You see what happens when I change it. See, this is like, it looks warmer, it looks cooler. So this is essentially targeting that lower, D55, D50, cooler kind of white. It's like off-white or white, right? It's different from changing the Kelvin number, which is this of your temperature. This is, you can take it to blue, warm. It's different from that. It's just target white. That's what this is doing here, right? And of course, contrast is tonal contrast. So we can in itself stop here and say, okay, this is the look we want for this image, right? But the other stuff you can do, right? We can go into like expand. Like I said, we can shift our black points. So, okay, I want a little bit more contrast in this image, but I don't want to touch my contrast wave. I want to just drop my black point, and I can just do that. See exactly. I've just taken my black point and shifted it above on the spectrum to give me a darker, more contrasty image. Same thing with my white point. I can say, okay, let's do this. And you see, from those two steps, we are coming a long way and this is all happening in Dehancer. As you can see, it's all happening in this entire node, Dehancer. And it's non-destructive, like I like to grade, because there's a knob for everything. I can just go and reduce it back if I want to and put it back when I want to, right? So that's why I really like this. And then I can still come up here, right, and drop down my exposure if I want to create a look, right, to change this into a look. And if I come to something like the film developer and it's off by default, but you can put it on, right? And what you can do is like, okay, you can increase the colors more. You can see this gives you a very crazy it's a crazy look, right? And you can drop it down, to do saturation. There's a little bit of color inside it, so it's not exactly saturation and dropping it in a sense. It's just boosting the color. It's clear with what it's doing. I will just boost it a little bit. I think it's fine there. And contrast boost, same thing, increase contrast, or that similar contrast. Gamma correction it only works when your contrast is up. It's just changing like your gamma, your on the gamma spectrum of what your contrast is. That's what is happening here. And yeah, so this is one reason why I really like Dehancer, right? It's an all-in-one platform. You can do all these looks, you can do all these things in a single node. And like I said, this is a 5-node tree structure. Of course, ignore remaining connectors. All in this 5 are on right now, and you've created a good looking image right from there, and you can still go back and adjust everything you need to do without breaking your image. This is really the power of Dehancer, and why I really like it as a film emulation plugin. So, like I said before, you could actually use Dehancer as a DRT. However, unlike most other DRTs, it is not exactly neutral. It's going to give you that film look every single time you use it as a DRT, but you can, which means you can work in a single node and you'll be fine. So let's see an instance of Dehancer being used as a DRT. I'm going to just create a new version here that I already prepped down. So if you can already see, this is different from what we did before. Actually, I'm going to just delete all this so that we will have a certain, I'll just connect this here, and I will delete all these, and I will explain why. But we're going to work with those 2 nodes here, 3 nodes, right? So that you guys will be able to get it. Right? And like I said, these nodes are basically what they were doing before. So let's work with these 3 nodes now, and I'll turn all of them off for now. and let's see what this is doing. Let's turn on the Dehancer. You see now, it doesn't do anything, right? Like I said initially in the first section of the video, it's asking me what is your color space. By default, it is Rec. 709. That's not what we are working in. We are working in Canon Log 3, right? So we're gonna come here and change it. We'll go to our source. We'll go to choose camera. We shot on a Canon, so we're going to choose vendor Canon, and it will automatically choose a profile for you. But don't do that. We don't want to do that. We want to choose it ourselves because we know what this was shot in. So like, no, let's tell you what they were shot in, right? So we come here, R7, Canon R7, C Log 3, we shot in Canon Log 3 cinema gamut, and you can see, of course, it's overexposed. Well, what's happening here? Dehancer is not doing this. This is how the image was shot. It was overexposed. If you look at the scopes, you see it. We're living up in the shadows. It's a high key scene, but overexposed. While living in the highlights, not shadows. It's a high key scene. I'm gonna do my Rec. 709, and just for clarity, I'm gonna do this just to show you that it's not Dehancer, so you won't be scared. This is Dehancer. I'm going to add a lot here. First, just give me a random lot, look lot, 709. Boom. You see, this is the basic Canon. This is a DRT, but just with a lot. You just using lots. It's taking Canon Log 3 and making it Rec. 709. You can see it's still overexposed, right? So just know that. But if I come here on this, I put this on. Simple. All right, so let's go back to what we're doing. This is Dehancer, overexposed. What we're gonna do, we're gonna bring down the exposure. I'm going to balance the image a bit. Starting point. So as you can see, it has translated my Rec. 709, my log profile rather, into Rec. 709. However, it is doing it in a very unique way, and it's giving me that film emulation look. The point of this video is to show you that you can actually work with Dehancer in a single node. So we've chosen our inputs and we're working in it. Okay, now let's go. Like I said, this controls the exposure of this color space and gamma, camera and the formats, Canon C Log 3 cinema gamut. So we're working with this right now. So let's just draw down this exposure just a bit, and then we can choose a different print. Let's go with that Konica Impressa 50. I like this look a lot, and let's go with 2033 this time, or let's go with Fujifilm this time, just for the sake of this video. No, sometimes I want to, sometimes I don't. It doesn't look like what I want, and like I said, your best starting point. Always choose what to give you your best starting point. So let's start going, right? So I'm gonna immediately go to my exposure again here in my print. I'm gonna bring it down just a little bit again. I'm gonna go to my black point. I'm gonna shift my black point to be a little bit brighter, so I don't have that much contrast. I'm going to take my target white. I'm going to take it to D65, just a little bit. D60 towards D60, 65. I'm just going to take it around here. I'm going to take my density. I'm going to crank that up a certain way. So just take it up to like, let's say 70 or something, and looking saturated. Yeah, no problem. I'm going to then go to my film developer, turn it on. I'm going to drop my color boost a bit. Just gonna take it down just a little bit, right? Just to remove a lot of that. I'm gonna turn off my grain or take it down to the lowest. I don't like what the grain does sometimes some images. I'm going to go to my bloom. I'm gonna add a bit of bloom. I think the default is okay. No issues there. I think I like what it's doing here. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it on the default settings. I still don't like the way her skin is living. I'm just gonna come into my color boost again. I'm gonna remove just a little bit of that color. I'm gonna see if I can increase my density of my colors. Yeah, I think that works. I'm gonna go to my tint. I'm gonna take it a little bit cooler, just because I want to, just because I feel like it's leaving a little bit still too warm on my vector scope. I think it's slightly a little bit too warm. I'm just gonna take this bit here a bit. I'm going to go into something like my in my color compression, I'm going to compress the colors into like a more filmic profile. I don't always use this because sometimes it makes, I like to have that, I like to have that dynamic range sometimes that digital cameras will give you, modern ones will give you over, what film would do. The way it is spread across, I prefer to do it, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to just take this down a bit, and then we will have something like this. Right, so I'm going to reduce my white point just a bit so I can take down this background. I'm going to then increase my tonal contrast a bit, and I will still come up here and drop down the exposure just a bit again. So you can see we've created kind of a look already, right? We've created kind of a look just by doing so. This is not exactly like a grading tutorial of how to do certain level of or how to create your perfect image. No, of course this image still needs some shaping. This needs to be taken down a bit, and that will be done with like masks and whatever you want to use to do your shaping, right? All this will happen before this Dehancer instance, because you don't want to do this after. If you want to drop the background of this, you want to drop it within your camera's color space, and this has already taken your color space and taken it into Rec. 709, and that's not advisable. So do it before your DRT has occurred. So what's the point of this video? It's just to show you that you can actually work with Dehancer as a single node. If you want a certain look for quick grades, you can just apply it on to your right input and output, and you're good to go. I'm going to show you a different instance right now of using Dehancer on a different project that I've worked with, and let's see what happens there. This is a short film that I shot I think a few weeks back, and I'm just running up grading it right now. So yeah, what's all this happening here? I'm not going to really explain what I'm doing here. That could be a separate video, but in the essence of it, this is what Dehancer is, right? It's living here, right? It's living in this particular area. That's what I'm using for all the film looks for this entire shot, right? It's Dehancer. This is shot on red, so same thing, right? This is where my input is on the pre-clip level. It is inputting, red gamma, white gamma, gamut RGB, red love 3G10. It's taking that and putting it into DaVinci White Gamut, DaVinci Intermediate. And if you go here to the post clip, we're coming in here. Let me turn off the Dehancer for the sake of this video. Yeah, it's not taking, I like to use 2499 a lot. This is not taking DaVinci White Gamut and taking it into Rec. 709. Now, all these nodes here, they can be turned and they will be turned off for the rest of the video, because this is just my node tree structure. If you're always building your node trees each time you open a clip to grade, stop it. Change, get some help. Just create a preset of a node tree. You don't go and buy someone's own, just do it yourself. It's free, it's not hard. Just create your workflow and create and save it. I see I have some saved here, I have some of them saved here. I have ODTs, input device transforms, DRTs I have saved here, and I have node trees right here. Output node tree, inputs. These are basically just one step. It's gonna drop this for me, so I don't have to do it each time I want to create an image. That's what this is doing. So I don't need to use all these things. They're just there for if I want to adjust another thing in a certain level, I can go there. So that's how I like to work. Right, so if I go to the clip level now, this is like what I said before. You need, the other one was like on a single node tree platform. This is like separated three because of the group. So everything I do here in the pre-clip and post-clip will affect every single image within that group. You can see there's a link icon, which means this is a different group. You see, it's a different group, right? So that I don't have to create a look on my print for each single shot. That is a waste of time. This is what's happening here, right? So this is my clip level grade. All this happening here is just, like I said, shaping the light to work for what I want it to, for what I want to work for the particular image, right? So let's do some Dehancer here again. I already graded this image. I'm just going to show you what Dehancer is doing. Same instance. I'm taking in the actual gamut. I'm using Konica Centura 100 DMP. I use Fujifilm 3513 instead of Kodak because I like what the this profile, print profile was doing to the image. So all in all, like I said, everything that happens here is basically just a clip grade. If I do this and apply this on this shot, it wouldn't work. In this shot, it wouldn't work. They're all different. You can see this is not what this is. You know, it's different because they're clip level grades. You do this on a clip deeper level, right? So all in all, but you can see everything here is the same. If I turn this off, this is affected. If I turn this off, everything gets affected. Blah 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 blah. Right? So I just hope this has been like giving you guys a general understanding of what Dehancer is, what film print is, and why it is not just halation and grain like most people tell you online. There's a process to it, and it's best for you to understand why you are doing a film print emulation, and not rather how to do it, but why you should do it, because sometimes it won't work for every single project. It depends on the look you want and the story you are trying to tell, because at the core we are just storytellers. We are just storytellers. That's our job. Tell a story. Simple. So yeah. Please like, subscribe, and do it. You know what to do. Just